Coming up on show 663, the Netherlands love their EVs. The Chevy Corvette C8 could be going plug-in hybrids, and a first ride in the Faraday F91. Those stories and many more coming up on your edition for Thursday the 9th of January. This show is called EV News Daily. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story that I can find. There's so much going on at the moment, but I whittle it down to just the news you need to know about, because I know that you're busy and you want a little summary every day of what you need to know. Well, thank you as always to myev.com. If you're in the USA, myev.com. Been around a couple of years now, helping people buy and sell and learn and finance and sort out warranties on their EVs. And they've handily divvied up the cars for sale in the USA right now into different categories. Of course, I went to the most expensive one first when I was checking out the website earlier today because, you know, we can dream. Going to give you an update first on Carlos Ghosn. Many people have called him the father of the Nissan Leaf. He was someone that believed very much in electrification at Nissan when he was the CEO of the Nissan, Renault, Mitsubishi alliance, and has indeed spent a lot of resources, R&D, marketing money, promoting EVs. So people are interested in his case. Of course, he has been in custody, coming up a couple of years now, and this is a story that hit the headlines recently because he fled Japan. Many people say in a flight case or even a musical instrument case. Took a bullet train for a couple of hours in public, wasn't discovered, got on a private jet, then changed to another private jet. Now he's in the Lebanon and he is fighting, he says, to give his side of the story. Carlos Ghosn held a press conference in Lebanon earlier today, yesterday, Wednesday, to clear his name in the year-long scandal that stripped him of his leadership roles at Nissan, Renault and Mitsubishi and irrevocably tainted an otherwise well-regarded career as a captain of the automotive industry, writes Autoblog today. Well, Carlos Ghosn told reporters in Beirut that he'd been treated brutally by Tokyo prosecutors, whom he accused of helping Nissan to oust him as chairman, and he said the case was trumped up to silence his advocacy of a full merger between Nissan and Renault. Nissan said an internal investigation found that Carlos Ghosn had engaged in personal use of company money and had underreported his income in violation of Japanese law. It's a story that's going to rumble on and on. I'll pop a link to Autoblog in the show notes if you want to read more. I watched the full press conference, earlier today. It was a long one. He had a lot to say, was presenting evidence on screen. There were slides. There was a detailed explanation of why he believes it's a stitch-up. And the Japanese, the car maker Nissan, didn't want him going through with his plans of a full merger, and also talking to FCA as well, Fiat Chrysler, about joining forces. Of course, all those things denied by the Japanese, who now have an international warrant out for his arrest, and his wife now as well for, I forget the charges of what they want her on. Of course, he won't be extradited because there is no international agreement with Japan. So watch this story. But one thing is clear, Nissan have had a rough time since he left. Renault have had kind of a rough time as well. Market capitalizations of both of those companies are down, and some people worried about the EV futures for both of those companies. I'm not worried about the future, but I certainly don't understand the roadmap for both. And that's me as a huge Renault fan. I've owned 2 Renault Zoes. I'm probably going to buy a 3rd Renault Zoe sometime this year, the new one with the CCS plug on it. I'm a big advocate for Renault, and nobody will praise them as much as I do. I actually love my EVs that I've had from them. In terms of the next 5 EVs from Renault, I couldn't tell you. And it's one of those things that I know they're coming, but I'm not clear on their roadmaps, and so I worry about Nissan, Mitsubishi as well. Without Carlos Ghosn in charge, you wonder if the new leaderships of the company are quite as bullish on EVs as he was. Maybe they are. Time will tell. Let's talk about plug-in electric car sales in the Netherlands, hitting an all-time record. The end of the year was extremely hot in terms of plug-in electric car sales in the Netherlands, which not only beat but trampled on previous records. Let's start with December, says Inside EVs. December 2019, 22,983. Between us, let's call it 23,000 new passenger plug-in electric cars were registered in the country, 3 times more than a year ago. and thousands more than the old record of 16,000 a couple of years ago from an era of the Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. According to Inside EVs, in effect, the overall market share of cars with plugs on the side of them was 54% in the month of December, and that's more than half of all car sales, a thing that's only been seen previously in the nearby country of Norway. Well, great sales results in the Netherlands are not only thanks to Tesla, also other pure electric cars performing very nicely. Our attention was caught by the Audi e-tron. If you wonder where all the e-trons have been going, to the Netherlands. Over 3,000 of them in December. I know, over 3,000 of them registered in the month alone. 4,116 year to date. So nearly all of them that have been sold in that country in the last 5 weeks. That's an awesome number. Higher than the Model X, which only did 192, and the Jaguar I-Pace did 428. So Audi have been not only on a bit of a trot in the Netherlands, but doing exceptionally well. I'd love to hear from any of those 4,000 e-tron owners in the Netherlands. What do you think of your car? Do you like it? Reportedly, most of the e-trons are the entry-level e-tron 50 Quattro. Top 5 cars, then, for top 5 EVs for the month of December. The Model 3 was, I've mentioned the e-tron. Model 3 was far and away. 12,000 of them went there. Then the e-tron at 3,000. Then the Nissan Leaf at 1,000. The Renault Zoe at 1,000. And, this is great for MG, the MG ZS EV at just under 1,000. That's really, really good for that car maker, which will come nowhere near that again. Why? Because tax changes in the Netherlands means that it was extremely advantageous to buy an EV before the end of the calendar year. So that's why so many people wanted to get their car registered, and so many car makers wanted to sell their EVs there because there was such huge demand. Now, there is demand in many places, but they needed to get those cars delivered before the end of the year. I do think that attention is going to move now to the UK because come the 1st of April, a big change, huge changes coming in company car tax. And I should probably make a whole program about this for my Patreon fans, or like a bonus show that maybe only people in the UK are interested in. But it's a thing called benefit in kind. If you have a company car, it's a benefit to you if you can use it when you are doing personal miles. And so it's pretty hefty. I mean, most people don't do that if they can possibly, because you're paying a huge amount of tax for the privilege of having a company car that you can also drive personally. But from the 1st of April, that goes down to 0% tax on your wage bill. It goes up next year to 1%. It goes up again the year after. But it's going down from, what was it, like 20%? 21%? So I think there'll be plenty of people buying cars, at least ordering cars now, looking for delivery in any time sort of near April, because you're just not going to be penalised for having a company car that you can also use for personal use. Look out for those UK figures, and I should probably do a longer programme to explain what it's all about nearer the time. Now, one of the big car launches of last year was the Chevy Corvette C8. I know that some websites like motor1.com were running hundreds of articles over the year because it's such a popular car. Speculation on an electrified, not pure electric, Corvette C8 has also included recently talk of an all-wheel drive version with an electric motor powering the front wheels and a traditional engine sending power to the rear, says the Autoblog website. Now, the GM president, Mark Reus, suggested the latest Corvette worked into GM's strategy of 000. Zero emissions, zero crashes, zero congestion. If you read between the lines, what that means is a plug-in Corvette would be able to travel solely on electric power. You know, a lot of these plug-in hybrids these days are 20, 30 miles, but keep your powder dry on that one, because this Saturday I am bringing you a special plug-in hybrid show to start the year. But as we look at all the plug-in hybrids, not all, but loads of them that are available across the different countries that this podcast is listened to in, and why maybe plug-in hybrids are the best option for some people. However, back to the Corvette C8. Expecting any electrification to contribute to the car's overall acceleration, though. Now, the Corvette is GM's high-performance flagship, and so you add the electric and the gas power, and it's going to be a very, very rapid car. New spy shots by Autoblog do indeed show a Chevy Corvette C8 driving around with a plug socket. and the stickers which say, electric test car and stuff. So, yeah, it's coming. I wonder when. Now, Faraday have been, in fairness, trying for a long time to bring us an EV, and fairly or unfairly, they've been the butt of a few jokes. Now, Electrek recently took their first ride in the Faraday Future double F91 in Las Vegas. In Vegas right now is CES, and a Faraday test driver took them for a spin. It's got over 1,000 horsepower, and it's turning into a limo-like sedan. They were reclining in luxury, but holding on for dear life. A rocket blast is how Electrek describes it. Now, previous incarnations of the double F91, they say, aligned closer to the Model X. Now, the vehicle in Las Vegas was more like a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce, real high-end, luxurious, long, lean and spacious, with zero-gravity reclining seats. On the tech side, models can be configured with 1, 2 or 3 motors, horsepower from 350 to over 1,000, battery packs ranging from 60 to 120 kilowatt hours, charging up to 200 kilowatts, flooded cell technology being used for the battery, which I'm saying the words, but I don't know what that means, so I'm going to go and look that up after the programme is recorded. Again, there'll be plenty of people who are sceptical about Faraday Future, and as I always say, I want everyone to do well with EVs. They've had their problems, yep, and it's still going to be a bumpy ride. They're aiming to start low-volume deliveries in Q3, which they say are going to be built to prototype standards. In other words, it won't be mass production, but that's when low volume hand-built cars will begin, Q3 this year. Firm date now. We've never had a firm date before, and that's really, really good news, and we wish everyone at Faraday Future all the best. They will still be the butt of jokes. They've been around a long time and trying to do this for a long time. Got some good people at the company, good experienced people leading the company, and good luck to them. Now, what does the VW ID3, which is most certainly not an electrified Golf, look like next to a Tesla Model 3? Well, on the Tesla Motors subreddit, the user goes by the name of Chandler Wins, said this: I encountered a prototype VW ID3 charging in Germany. They are almost identical in size because it was parked next to a Model 3. The VW seemed to be charging at 100 kilowatts. Also at the charging station was an early prototype of the VW SUV, the ID4, and that had some serious camouflage stickers on it, and also a Porsche Taycan pulled up as well with fake engine sounds, which he said sounded ridiculous. But let's focus on the photograph that he posted, which is an ID3, which is definitely not an electrified Golf, parked next to the Tesla Model 3. Well, pretty similar cars, similar sizes. Whether it's the angle of the photo, but the ID3 does look slightly taller. It's more of it's got that crossover CUV styling, and so it looks taller than the Model 3. But I would say not taller than the Model Y, which is coming this year. Now, the Model Y would definitely have more headroom, I think, than the ID3 based on this, because it's not that much bigger, not that much taller than the saloon, the sedan version of the Model 3. Also really interesting from seeing the two cars side by side is just how short and stubby the ID3 has for a frunk. They've really moved the driver and passenger forward in order to create more space in the cabin. Very, very short, stubby front. Obviously, it's still very safe. All VWs would be. Great crash tests. But you do sit a long way forward. And only really when you put it next to the Model 3 can you tell that difference. And the Model 3 is a car with a very short front compared to petrol engine cars. So interesting to see them side by side. I tweeted about it yesterday. Have a look at my Twitter, which is EV News Daily, if you want to have a look for yourself. Exciting to see the cars out and about. Charging, by the way, in Germany, they were both plugged into the Ionity high-powered chargers. Well, today, Euro NCAP published the best in class for 2019. 55 cars assessed, among which 41 achieved the very top honour. And that makes 2019 one of the most impressive years on record since the Euro NCAP started to evaluate consumer safety of cars in the European market. Well, Tesla made a strong appearance this year, taking 3 of the wins. The Model X was 2019's winner of the large off-road category. The Tesla Model 3 won the electric and hybrid category, and in the vehicle class of large family category, it also came top, alongside BMW's 3 Series. Brilliant news there. Tesla, of course, pinning much of their reputation on safety, And so this news once again being shouted from the rooftops by the Tesla team because it's such an important part of their brand. Now, let's talk about ride-hailing. The ride-hailing operator FreeNow, which used to be called MyTaxi. It is a ride-hailing service provided by BMW and Daimler, and they want to boost their expansion into other cities in Germany. The ride-hailing fleet in Hamburg is being expanded with... No, not BMWs. It's being expanded with... No cars actually made by BMW or Daimler. By Teslas. They've purchased 60 Teslas, says Electrive. The service provider is one of several mobility services that BMW and Daimler merged at the beginning of last year. In the course of the merger, MyTaxi got renamed to FreeNow. Well, the 60 models from the Model 3s, I think they probably are the ones heading for Hamburg. FreeNow informed Electrive only when they asked what cars that they had bought. They're going to be used from the end of March, by the way. Interesting. And staying with transportation as a service, Captain, which, yes, is spelt in a kind of kooky way, Kaptyn, Captain, is a transport-as-a-service tech company in Las Vegas, announced 30 Teslas for their on-demand transportation service. You know, in the old days, we used to call transport-as-a-service and on-demand transportation, we used to call them taxis. Anyway, these days, we call cars that you can use by hailing on-demand transportation. They are at Captain, based at McCarran International Airport, says Zachary at Klingtechnica. The taxi company has 872 taxis. They've got 1,400 vehicles in total, and the 30 Model 3s, which they bought and launched today, are certainly not as far as they're going to go with electric cars. Basically a soft launch, they say. The number of electric vehicles in the fleet is going to be in the hundreds by February. The fleet is going to have more Model 3s, Model Xs, Model Ss. Not yet clear what the split's going to be, but it makes sense if you are using cars as working vehicles, if you're a taxi company, if you're a ride-hailing or a ride-sharing company, because EVs cost so little to run. Because even if you're paying quite high prices for electricity, still so much cheaper than petrol and diesel, it just makes sense. If you are running a business and you look at your bottom line, your total cost of ownership, it just makes sense to be running EVs. And on top of that, there's all the benefits, like your customers prefer it, it's a nicer ride, it's more comfortable, it's more quiet, it's interesting for them to get into an EV. But ultimately, the bottom line matters, and it makes you more money. Well, Tesla's stock rally is going strong, and I thought I would end, as of me recording this show, which is now 7:19 p.m. UK time on Wednesday evening. It is a Tesla stock price of just under $500. I don't go big on the financials all the time. This isn't a Tesla podcast, and I don't own individual shares. I'm sure that I might own a bit of Tesla through my pensions, but I don't know where they invest that money. I don't own any single stocks, and I would never recommend buying any single stocks because it's a roller coaster that my nerves just couldn't stand, seeing them go up and down. But at last check, $498.02. It was up 6.17% the last time I checked. May have changed by the time you're listening to this podcast, and that rally is making somebody a lot of money. One person in particular. Elon Musk just grew his fortune by $9 billion. Yeah, with a B, over the last few months. And if it keeps going, it's a big payday coming his way. An $800 million payday under his compensation plan with the company. According to Electrek, they more than doubled their market capitalization at Tesla, currently over $85 billion at last check. Tesla shareholders have been enjoying the ride, but one person in particular, Elon Musk, has benefited more than anyone else as the biggest shareholder of Tesla. With just over 20% of all outstanding shares, he saw his fortune from Tesla grow by $9 billion over the period, and it could get even better. He doesn't accept a salary from Tesla, doesn't take a salary, but each $50 billion increase in their market capitalization results in Elon Musk getting another 1.69 million shares in the company, and that's currently worth $800 million at today's price. If Tesla did hit the milestones and the market capitalization in his pay package, which he's been set, he would end up owning 30% of the entire company, and that stake would be worth $195 billion. That would make him the richest person on the planet. There's a long way to go yet, but many people said many people said Tesla has not got a hope in hell's chance of ever hitting $100 billion market capitalization. And that's very achievable from where we stand. I thought I'd end on that because it's kind of funny. I'm sure that he has been keeping an eye on it, but I'm not sure that he's going to be selling any shares anytime soon. I don't know, maybe he will, but it's an interesting one to end on. Kind of made me smile. Hey, look, question of the week time now. I want to hear from you, and I want to read out your email on Sunday. My EV's question of the week is this: what are your 2020 predictions? I'd love to know. EVs, solar, energy, storage, car companies, cars, charging. What do you reckon? Anything in particular? What are your 2020 predictions? Email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com. Thank you to 229 patrons of the show. These are people who put their hand in their pocket and pay the bills to make this podcast happen. And if you would like to know what it's all about, patreon.com/evnewsdaily. I know I'm asking you to give up a posh coffee once a month, or a couple of posh coffees if you want to be an exec producer. And by no means do you have to. Obviously, I'll make this show no matter what. But if you want to know what it's all about, patreon.com/evnewsdaily. And I'd be enormously appreciative if you would have a look at what it's all about. And if not, then a little review would be nice. Over 500 ratings for the show now. Amazing! Thank you. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. There are 662 previous shows in the archive, and on the socials, search EV News Daily. I'm in all the usual places, and I'd love to have a chat with you on there. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.